The quiet moment when you first open your eyes, stretch just a little, and maybe peek out the window to see what the day looks like. For some of us, that moment is peaceful. For others, it's a bit stiff, a little achy, maybe rushed. But here's the truth. How we handle that first hour after waking up could quietly shape the rest of our day, and even protect our health in the long run. Now, I know stroke isn't the kind of thing anyone wants to think about first thing in the morning. It sounds scary, and for good reason. It can change a life in an instant. But what most people don't realize is how much power we actually have to prevent it. Especially us, folks in our 60s, 70s, even 80s. We're not helpless, not by a long shot. In fact, there are small, doable things, gentle habits, that can quietly protect our brains and hearts every single morning. These aren't complicated, and they don't require fancy equipment or expensive supplements. They just take a little intention and a bit of love for yourself. In this video, I'll share some simple morning habits that research and real life shows can reduce your stroke risk. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and choosing to show up for your health day by day. If this sounds helpful, please give this video a like, subscribe to the Vibrant Elders channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. I really do read them. So, let's ease into this together. Let me tell you what's really going on in our bodies each morning, and why it matters more than you might think. You know, strokes have a way of sneaking up on people. They don't always come with a warning, and that's what makes them so dangerous. But here's the thing. Understanding what a stroke actually is gives you the upper hand. And I promise, I'm not going to bury you in medical mumbo-jumbo. We're going to keep this real. So let's imagine something familiar. Think of your brain like a beautiful little garden. It needs a constant flow of water to stay alive and bloom. That water comes from blood, carrying oxygen and nutrients through tiny vessels. Now picture one of those vessels getting clogged, like a kink in a hose. No water gets through. That's what happens in most strokes, about 87% of them, to be exact. It's called an ischemic stroke, where a clot blocks the blood flow to part of your brain. Without that blood, brain cells start dying, and fast. Then there's the other kind, hemorrhagic stroke. That's when a vessel bursts and blood leaks into the brain where it's not supposed to be. Think of a pipe bursting inside your walls. Same mess, different cause. Both types are serious, but the first, the clotting kind, is the one we have the most control over. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Mornings, especially for older adults, are when strokes most commonly occur. Why? Well, after a long night of sleep, your body goes through a bit of a shift. Your blood pressure naturally rises as you wake up. Cortisol, that stress hormone, kicks in. Your blood tends to thicken slightly after hours without hydration. All that together means the chances of a clot forming or a vessel struggling are higher in the early morning hours. But, and this is the good news, you're not just a bystander here. You can influence what happens in those critical first minutes and hours of the day. Knowing that your body's going through these changes gives you a window of opportunity. And it's not about fear, it's about empowerment. Because most strokes, around 80%, according to the CDC, are preventable with lifestyle changes. I remember a neighbor of mine, Pete. He was in his 70s, always active, loved to garden. One morning, he stood up too fast, didn't feel quite right, and shrugged it off. Hours later, he couldn't speak clearly, and by the time help arrived, it was a full-blown stroke. He recovered, but it took months of therapy. He told me later, "I didn't know mornings were risky. Most of us don't. But once you do, you can start making better choices." So instead of thinking of morning as just a routine, coffee, news, maybe breakfast, think of it as a fresh chance. A chance to protect your brain, to take a gentle stand against stroke without needing a doctor in the room. Next, I'll show you exactly what to do, starting with the very first thing you should reach for before you even say good morning to anyone. Before you even think about coffee or turning on the news, I want you to reach for something simple, a glass of water. Yep, just plain water. Room temperature, nothing added. It may sound too easy to matter, but I promise, it's one of the most powerful things you can do each morning to protect your brain from a stroke. You see, while we're sleeping, our bodies lose moisture. We're breathing out warm air, sometimes sweating a little, and not taking in any fluids for 6 to 8 hours, sometimes more. That means by the time you wake up, your blood is just a little thicker than it should be. And thicker blood doesn't move as easily through your vessels. That increases the chances of a clot forming. the kind that can block an artery in the brain and trigger a stroke. So when you drink water first thing in the morning, you're thinning out that blood, gently getting everything moving again. You're telling your body, let's get things flowing. And for older adults, especially those managing high blood pressure or cholesterol, that one habit can make a bigger difference than you might think. Now, I know how mornings can go. Some folks reach straight for their medications, others head to the coffee pot, and some just sit quietly for a while. But adding a glass of water doesn't have to be a chore. I keep mine right on the nightstand. That way, it's the first thing I see when I open my eyes. A little reminder that my health starts now, not later in the day. I'll tell you something personal. There was a time I didn't think about hydration at all. I figured I drank enough tea or had soup, and that was good enough. But I started getting lightheaded in the mornings. Nothing serious, just off. My doctor gently asked me, "Are you drinking water first thing?" I wasn't. Now I do. Just that one change, and those dizzy spells disappeared. You don't need to gulp down a big bottle. Start with 8 ounces. That's about a small glass. If cold water feels too harsh first thing, go with room temperature. It's easier on your stomach. And if plain water bores you, add a squeeze of lemon or a slice of cucumber. But don't skip it. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You wouldn't start your day without that, right? Some folks ask, can't I just drink water with breakfast? Sure, that's better than nothing. But earlier is better. The goal is to hydrate your system before your body's natural morning surge in blood pressure. That's the key. It's a small act, but it speaks volumes. It says you're choosing to care for yourself, gently and purposefully. And in the grand scheme of stroke prevention, that glass of water is a mighty little warrior. Up next, we'll get that body moving. No sweat, just a few mindful motions to keep the blood flowing even better. Once your body's rehydrated, the next thing it really wants, though it won't always say so, is a little movement. I'm not talking about jumping jacks or running laps around the block. I mean simple, kind movements. The kind that gently wake up your muscles, help your joints loosen up, and get your blood flowing like it's meant to. Think of it like slowly turning on a garden hose after winter. Careful, steady, so nothing bursts. When you've been lying still for hours, your circulation slows down. And for those of us past 60, our blood vessels aren't quite as flexible as they used to be. That's natural, but it also means we need to help our bodies along a bit. A few minutes of light stretching can open things up and lower that early morning blood pressure spike. It's like giving your heart and brain a smoother runway to start the day. I usually begin before I even get out of bed. I do slow ankle rolls, just turning my feet in circles, then switching directions. Then I'll stretch my arms above my head, wiggle my fingers, rotate my wrists. It takes maybe 2 minutes, and it feels like shaking off sleep. After I sit up, I swing my legs gently back and forth before standing. That alone makes standing safer, especially if your balance is a little wobbly in the morning. Then, I'll walk to the window, do a few shoulder rolls, maybe stretch my neck side to side. If I'm feeling stiff, I'll do what I call my kitchen counter routine. I stand at the counter and do a few slow heel raises, up on my toes, hold, down again. It's nothing fancy, but it wakes up the lower legs and helps prevent those clots that can sneak up when circulation's poor. And the best part? You don't need to set aside a whole workout block. This is just about waking the body gently. Even 5 to 10 minutes is enough. You're not training for a marathon. You're tuning up a vehicle that still has a lot of good miles left. Let me share a little story. My friend Helen, who's 74 now, started doing gentle stretches after a mild stroke scared her into changing her mornings. Nothing too intense, just little movements she found on YouTube. Within weeks, she told me, I feel more balanced, more alive in the morning. Her doctor noticed her blood pressure numbers improving too. These small movements help stimulate what's called endothelial function. Basically, keeping the inner lining of your blood vessels healthy and flexible. And that's critical in stroke prevention, because when those vessels are stiff or inflamed, clots form more easily. Movement helps prevent that. It tells your body, we're up, we're safe, and we're circulating. So next time you wake up, try a little stretch right there in bed. Think of it as your body's way of saying, thank you for noticing me. You've already had your water. Now, give your blood and muscles a reason to move. Next, we'll talk about another small thing with big impact, the timing of your morning medications. Now that your body's up and moving, it's time to talk about something many of us are familiar with, our morning medications. For some, it's just one pill. For others, it's a row of little reminders lined up in a plastic box. No judgment here. In fact, if you're taking medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, or other conditions tied to stroke risk, I want to tell you something. Taking them at the right time and taking them consistently matters more than most people realize. See, mornings aren't just when your body's waking up. They're when your cardiovascular system is at its most active. Blood pressure tends to rise sharply within the first hour or two after waking. It's part of what scientists call the morning surge. And if you're someone who already deals with hypertension or has a history of heart issues, that surge can be risky. It's actually one of the reasons strokes are more likely to happen early in the day. That's why, in many cases, doctors recommend taking your medications in the morning, especially those that help keep your blood pressure or cholesterol in check. But here's the key: consistency. Not just once in a while, not just when you remember. Every day, same time, same order, like brushing your teeth or feeding your dog. I've got a little setup in my kitchen. Right next to the coffee machine, there's a small wooden tray. On it, I keep my pill box for the week, and next to that, a note that just says, "Start here." It's nothing fancy, but it keeps me on track. When I travel, I pack that same pill box and slip a reminder card into my suitcase. It's a system, and it works. And let's be honest, it's easy to forget. Especially if you're not feeling any symptoms, it's tempting to skip a dose or two. But blood pressure and cholesterol don't always come with warning signs. That's why they're called silent killers. The medications aren't about how you feel today. They're about keeping you safe tomorrow and 5 years from now. Now, a quick but important note. If you're ever unsure whether a medication should be taken in the morning or evening, always check with your doctor or pharmacist. Some newer research even suggests that certain meds might be more effective at night. So don't change your timing without professional guidance. I remember my neighbor Ruth, who thought her pills were causing her fatigue in the morning, so she started taking them randomly, sometimes before lunch, sometimes not at all. She ended up in the ER with a mini stroke. Luckily, she recovered. But now, she's religious about taking her meds first thing every day. She even set a reminder on her Alexa. So as you start your day, with your water, your stretches, your sunlight, don't forget that little pill box. It might not seem like much in the moment, but it's one of the strongest tools you have to stay protected. Next, we'll take a look at what you're putting on the breakfast table and how even small changes there can quietly fight stroke risk. Let's talk about breakfast. Not just the idea of eating in the morning, but what you're actually putting on that plate. Because believe it or not, what you eat first thing plays a role in how well your body handles blood pressure, cholesterol, and overall stroke risk. And no, I'm not here to lecture you into giving up everything you love. But I will say this: small swaps at breakfast can quietly add years to your life. Now, back in the day, a big country breakfast was something to be proud of. Eggs fried in butter, thick-cut bacon, white toast, maybe some gravy on the side. It felt hearty. It felt right. But times have changed, and so has what our bodies need, especially after 60. The same breakfast that once gave us energy might now be quietly working against our heart health. Here's why. High-sodium foods, like bacon, sausage, or even many breakfast cereals, raise blood pressure. And processed meats are linked to higher stroke risk. Combine that with a lack of fiber and too much saturated fat, and it's like giving your blood vessels a rough start to the day. But don't worry, we're not throwing away the whole breakfast table. We're just rearranging what's on it. These days, my go-to breakfast is a warm bowl of oatmeal. I make it with water or low-fat milk, toss in a handful of blueberries, a few chopped walnuts, and a drizzle of honey if I'm feeling fancy. Oatmeal is full of soluble fiber. It helps lower bad cholesterol. Blueberries bring antioxidants. Walnuts support brain health. And none of it comes with a side of regret. If oatmeal isn't your thing, try a slice of whole grain toast with avocado or peanut butter. Or Greek yogurt with some berries and chia seeds. Even a simple banana with a small handful of almonds can do the trick. The idea is to aim for foods that are high in fiber, rich in potassium, and low in added salt or sugar. Let me tell you about my friend Carl. He's 72 and used to swear by his sausage and eggs every morning. But after his doctor warned him about his blood pressure creeping up, Carl started making changes, slowly. He cut down on salt, swapped his toast to whole wheat, and added fruit to his plate. Within 3 months, his numbers improved. But what really surprised him? He said he started feeling better, less sluggish, more steady on his feet. You don't have to overhaul your pantry overnight. Start small. Replace one item at a time. Maybe skip the bacon on Mondays. Try oatmeal on Wednesdays. Keep it flexible, not rigid. And remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Each bite can either help your heart or hurt it. And breakfast is your first chance each day to make a good choice. So as you sit down in the morning, ask yourself, what does my brain and heart need right now? A good breakfast isn't just filling, it's healing. And next, we'll look at how just a few quiet minutes of calm can be just as powerful as what's on your plate. After breakfast, or even before it if that suits you better, I want you to find just a few minutes for something many of us skip: calm. Not silence, not doing nothing, real, intentional calm. Because the way we start our day emotionally can have just as much impact on our health as what we eat or how we move. And when it comes to stroke prevention, managing stress is one of the most overlooked tools we have. See, stress doesn't just live in your mind. It physically affects your body, your blood pressure, your heart rate, even the way your blood clots. If you wake up and dive straight into the news, phone alerts, bills on the kitchen table, it puts your body into a fight or flight mode. And over time, that daily stress adds up like tiny drops in a bucket. But here's the beautiful part. Calming down your nervous system doesn't require a yoga mat or a therapist, just your breath. I like to sit in my favorite chair by the window. Before I turn on the TV, before I check the headlines, I close my eyes. I breathe in for a count of 4. Then I hold it for a second or 2. Then breathe out slowly for 5 or 6. I do that a few times, maybe 3, maybe 5, just until I feel my shoulders drop. Sometimes I say a quiet prayer. Other times, I just think about something I'm grateful for. A warm bed, a phone call from my granddaughter, the birds chirping outside. It's not a ritual. It's a gift I give myself. My friend Sharon started doing this too. Just 2 minutes each morning, she said. She called it her reset button. She told me her doctor noticed her blood pressure improving without changing her medication. And she felt more stable during the day, less likely to snap at her husband over the little things. She laughed. And the science backs her up. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural relax mode. It lowers cortisol levels, steadies your heart rate, and reduces blood pressure. In other words, it tells your whole system, you're safe. You're okay. Let's take care of the day, not rush into it. It doesn't matter what your version of calm looks like. Some folks like journaling, just a few lines about how they slept or what they're looking forward to. Others use guided meditations on their phone. Some sit quietly with their coffee and call it thinking time. The point is to build in a pause, not a blank space, just a gentle one. So tomorrow morning, after your water, after your stretch, maybe after your breakfast, take those 2 or 3 minutes. Not for chores, not for planning, just to breathe, to be. Your brain needs peace as much as it needs oxygen and nutrients. And peace doesn't just happen. Sometimes you have to choose it. Next, we'll step outside and talk about something so simple, yet so powerful: the morning sun. Once you've had a few calming breaths, maybe while you're still holding that warm cup of coffee, it's time to step outside, or at least open the blinds and let the light in. Morning sunlight isn't just something pleasant to look at. It's medicine. Real, natural, powerful medicine. And the best part? It's free. Our bodies are built to respond to light, especially sunlight in the early part of the day. That soft glow you see coming over the trees or peeking through your kitchen window. It helps regulate something called your circadian rhythm, your internal body clock. And when that clock is balanced, your sleep improves, your mood lifts, and your blood pressure tends to stay steadier throughout the day. But even more importantly for stroke prevention, sunlight helps your body produce vitamin D. And that little nutrient plays a big role in your cardiovascular health. Low levels of vitamin D have been linked to higher risk of stroke, especially in older adults. It supports the health of your blood vessels and helps control inflammation. 2 key pieces of the puzzle when it comes to keeping your brain protected. You don't need to sunbathe or sit outside for an hour. Just 10 to 15 minutes of morning sun on your face, arms, or even hands can make a difference. I usually step out onto the porch after breakfast, check on the potted herbs I keep by the railing, and let the sun hit my face while I sip my drink. It's peaceful. It grounds me. And I know it's helping my body in ways I can't even see. My neighbor Joe walks his little dog around the block every morning, rain or shine. He told me it's become his reset walk. Not about exercise, not about steps, just about rhythm. Light on his face, air in his lungs, and a feeling that the day is his to shape. And wouldn't you know, his last checkup showed his blood pressure better than it had been in years. If you're not able to go outside easily, try sitting by a window that faces east. Let that early light filter in while you read the paper or do your crossword. Or, if you live somewhere with long winters or lots of cloud cover, consider asking your doctor about a light therapy lamp. Some folks find it helpful during darker months to keep their mood and energy up. The point is, your body was made to wake with the sun, and those few quiet minutes in natural light can do more for your heart and brain than most people realize. It's not a luxury, it's a daily dose of healing. So tomorrow morning, open the curtain. Step outside if you can. Turn your face toward the light and soak in that warmth. It's more than just a sunrise. It's your body's way of saying, let's get stronger today. Now, before we wrap up, there's one final habit I want to share, one that's all about tuning into your own body, so you never miss the early signs when something's not quite right. Before you fully dive into your day, whether it's a walk around the neighborhood, a phone call with family, or simply tending to your garden, take one last moment just for yourself. I call it a morning check-in. Not a checklist, not a test, just a quiet pause to ask, how am I feeling today? This simple habit can be one of the most powerful tools you have in stroke prevention. Because while strokes often strike without warning, there are early signs, subtle changes that your body sometimes whispers before it shouts. And when you know you're normal, you're much more likely to notice when something's off. It starts with paying attention to the basics. How does your face feel? Is your smile even? Can you raise both eyebrows? Or does one side feel different? Try lifting both arms. Do they feel equally strong? Are your legs steady when you stand? When you speak, does your voice sound clearer than usual? These aren't exercises. They're gentle check-ins, little reassurances that everything is working just as it should. I've made it part of my mirror routine. When I wash my face or brush my teeth, I look closely, not in a vain way, but in a caring one. I make a funny face, smile wide, say a few words out loud. Not to perform, but to observe. It takes less than a minute, and it gives me peace of mind. Let me share a story. My cousin Barbara, who's in her 80s now, told me she felt a little foggy one morning. Nothing dramatic, just a sense that something was off. She noticed her left arm felt weaker holding her coffee cup, and her words didn't come out right when she tried to talk to her dog. Because she'd heard about checking in like this, she called her daughter, who got her to the hospital. It was a mini stroke. They caught it early, and Barbara is doing beautifully now. Back to her morning walks, back to singing in her church choir. She said something that stuck with me. The only reason I knew to act fast was because I knew what normal felt like. That's what this is all about. Not fear, not worry, just awareness. You are the best expert on your body. And taking 60 seconds each morning to tune in, that's not overreacting. That's self-respect. If anything feels different, numbness, weakness, slurred speech, confusion, don't wait. Don't Google it. Don't second guess. Call someone. The faster a stroke is treated, the better the chances for recovery. And catching those early signs often makes all the difference. So tomorrow morning, after your water, your stretch, your moment of peace, and your breakfast, check in. Gently, with kindness. Ask your body, how are we doing today? And listen, that small conversation could be the most important one you have all day. Coming up next, I'll wrap this all together with a message of hope, simplicity, and strength, because small steps really can protect a mighty life. So there you have it, just a handful of small, thoughtful ways to start your morning, each one quietly working behind the scenes to protect your brain, your heart, and your sense of independence. I know it might feel like a lot when you hear it all laid out, but truly, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing one thing, just one, that brings you closer to the life and health you deserve. Maybe tomorrow you start with that glass of water. Or maybe you try a slow ankle roll before getting out of bed. Maybe you open the curtain a little earlier and let the morning sun touch your face. These little moments aren't just habits. They're choices. Choices that say, I still care about this body. I still want to live fully. And the best part? It's never too late to begin. You could be 60, 70, 85. Your mornings still matter. You still matter. If this video gave you something to think about or encouraged you in any way, I'd love it if you'd give it a like and subscribe to Vibrant Elders. And please, Share your morning habits in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Let's keep this community strong and connected. Remember, your health isn't built in hospitals. It's built in small choices, day after day, right there in the quiet of morning. You've made it through so much in life. You've earned the right to live it with peace, clarity, and strength. So tomorrow, when the sun rises and you take that first deep breath, I hope you'll smile a little and say, "This day is mine, and I'm going to start it well." Take care of yourself. I'm proud of you, and I'll see you in the next video.